Hello Cancer friends, I'm Annie Botticelli and welcome to my Cancer June 2022 Astrology Must-Knows Horoscope Forecast. Definitely go to anniehelpsyou.com. That's the interface for all the free goodies I make for you each month. If you forget that by the time we are done here, I'll mention it again at the end, or you can look in the notes underneath the video or podcast to find it again. What's going on in June? We're going to talk about some 4 big must-knows as far as the general transits, also help you map out your decision-making processes by understanding the energies from June, July into August. We'll do that later. First, we're going to talk about some Cancer-specific things, including something very near and dear to your heart, your yearly Cancer new moon. Okay, so let's just start with that. When we have a new moon in our sign, it's a very special time of regeneration and rebirth and the beginning of a new cycle. It's a time when you can get certain things intact as far as your emotional space and as far as your sacred space and your home and your family and housing and things like that. So if there's anything along those lines that you're wanting some help with, this is a really great time to make new moon wishes or to, set new moon intentions along the lines of anything that you want, but specifically on this topic of using your empathic nature in ways that don't debilitate you, using your intuition to guide you in ways that isn't overwhelming, being able to tell the difference between your intuition and your fears, and also being able to clear other people's energies out of your intuitive and decision-making process. So these are all some things that might come to life this month. And even though the new moon isn't until the end of the month, we're still here in the cycle, where it's starting, and it will start to take effect as the month goes on. And the stronger, this will become even stronger towards the end of the month. Now, this will give all of those opportunities that I mentioned for every Cancer placement, but those of you who are closest to 7 degrees are going to have the most meaning, the most, obvious effects, and the most, impact from this placement or from this aspect. So 7-degree people are basically those towards the very end of June, but we'll say all of the June-born and early July Cancers, and especially those towards the very end of June, will be most affected by this. Okay, so while we're talking about the moons, we may as well also talk about the full moon. The full moon in Sagittarius might find you traveling in the middle of the month or planning a trip. It might find you closing out something with education, either for yourself or someone else in your family, some kind of milestone education-wise. It might have something to do with teaching or learning, or your spiritual process, or your views on life. Different countries, different cultures, international business, immigration, all of those things are likely to come to life and come into the focus in the middle of the month. Now, specifically for Cancers, this occurs in your house of health and your house of your daily routine. So this could mean that there is some workplace incident or something noteworthy happening. Now, this is an awkward angle, but that doesn't mean it has to be a bad thing. But it is a point of tension. It could be something as simple as you get a new work project and now you're busy because of it, and so you got to push through it, right? That could be a very good thing. If you're self-employed, it could be new business that comes in, maybe to the point that you're overwhelmed by it. There could be some kind of change in office dynamics or in your schedule, something that you do every day. There could be, a break from it or a final culmination where you're ending some sort of cycle there. It could also call to your awareness something with your health that needs to be addressed, or a practitioner that can really help you, either with your general wellness or something specific that you're working on. Pets and animals can also be highlighted here, and that's again in the middle of the month when we've got that full moon. And although all Cancers will have these potentials, those of you who are near 23 degrees might feel that the most. So we'll say 18 degrees to 28 degrees. So that's like July 8th through 18th, and the closer to around July 13th, the more you'll see the notable effects of that. Now keep in mind, full moons tend to bring drama, for better and worse. And sometimes they increase how we are feeling emotionally. And this is a super big must know because it is a super moon. So we know, of course, Cancers are moon children. You're ruled by the moon even more than every other human is, which is, is just something that we all go through. You tend to be more moony and more sensitive. But when we've got a supermoon, that brings it to like the nth degree. So something very, very monumental could be occurring in those areas that we discussed. The Sagittarius things, the teaching, learning, education milestones, workplace, employment, health, things like that, pets. All of those could be a very significant milestone that could occur. Okay, so now let's talk about the general climate for the whole month. One big noteworthy thing that's happening is we still have some very strong energy in Aries, and this is going to be long-term because Jupiter is in Aries for the next year. I go into a lot more details about what this can look like in the May report, but we're going to touch on it here as well because Mars is here now too. Wherever Mars is in the chart, that makes us like a border collie. If you've ever been around border collies, they're super obsessive. I've always seemed to have border collies, and they get hot on something. And the Mars placement is the same way. So wherever you are, wherever the Mars is in your chart, you're going to find yourself obsessed. Okay, and this is in your career, employment, work, father figures, your relationship with male energies, which doesn't necessarily have to be male people. It can be the male energies within you or the male energies within your mother, or, it could be literally father or father figure or a male in your life, but it could just be what we associate with the energy of male and not necessarily be gender related. But you might have a little conflict at work. You might have a conflict with a boss. You might have, some questions where you're trying to figure out what the heck you want to do with your life, and maybe someone's putting pressure on you to do something with your work or earn money. Or alternatively, it could just be that you've got a big work event and it's going to take a lot of work to pull it through, and there's a lot of pressure and you pull it through. So this can manifest for different people. And again, pressure doesn't have to be a bad thing. If you love your work, this could just mean you're taking on new responsibilities and you're figuring out how to integrate those new responsibilities into how you're managing all of your workload. But in any case, work and, these things are on your mind, authority figures, things like that. There could be some run-ins there, or there could be some triumphs there. Could be that you have been feeling belittled by someone in your life that represents a male energy, and that you are now going to be speaking up for yourself and that you're going to be taking some of your power back. So that's another way this could manifest. Okay, so now some very juicy things we have going on. We've got a lot of movement, short-term and long-term, through the sign of Taurus. This always makes beautiful opportunities for you because those are 60-degree angles. Remember, angles of opportunity are ingredients on a counter type of situation where they don't make themselves into a pie, but they are around. And if you don't activate them, maybe nothing will happen with them. And if you're looking through a lens that can't, see the opportunities, sometimes you have to change how you're seeing things, or have someone help you, like look around at possible opportunities if you're not seeing them. Then, there's something active you have to do on your part. And a lot of that could be coming from, first of all, earned income. Second of all, anything having to do with your self-sufficiency. It could have to do with using your hands for work. Food, anything having to do with food or the food industry. This also can have to do with friendships and networking. So someone could play a key role, and, someone might offer to help you with something, and then you just have to activate it and say yes. Now, recently I talked about, in some recent horoscope, I talked about some really, really, really great energy going on for Cancer. And I've had a lot of people post and say, wow, yeah, this is great, this is happening. And I've had some other people post and say, oh gosh, this was terrible and this isn't working out for me. And, that's not true. We always have to remember that energetic potentials in the sky don't always drizzle down to activate every single individual, because there are way too many factors. We're talking about a general climate. Like, for instance, have you ever seen it rain across the street from you and it's not raining where you are? I live in Florida, so I actually see that happen. Pretty often it seems like it's like, oh, it's raining right over there, but it's not here. So the climate is rainy. The climate is humid. That's kind of affecting me. My hair is all over the place because of the humidity, right? But it's not exactly raining on me. That doesn't mean that that's not present. Okay, so that's just a first piece, a big must know to understand about astrological factors. All of the ingredients of something being in a around you doesn't mean it's going to manifest. Also, another example, let's say there's salmonella in the potato salad at the picnic and everybody eats it, but not everybody gets salmonella, right? It's not it doesn't always work 100% that potentials manifest into realities. Okay, so that's one big important thing to know. The second thing is that if you keep seeing possibilities that are amazing going by and people are talking about in the horoscopes or otherwise, wow, this is good, this is happening, you're like, wow, am I invisible here? Like, what's going on? You either could have something going on in your personal chart that's super intense, that's taking precedence, or you could have blocks to receiving what it is that those opportunities are trying to present to you, in which case you get to activate your empowerment and do inner work to help you become a more juicy magnet for those potentials the next time they roll around. Okay, so inner work can be done in many different ways. You know, I've listed inner work over time. You can look up EFT, the Emotional Freedom Technique. You can look up The Marriage of Spirit by Leslie Temple Thurston. Do the exercises in section 2. You can do the Presence Process by Michael Brown. You can do EMDR and NLP. You can look these things up. But if you are a person that's finding that you are not having the good things happen and you're wondering why, you might have to take an active role in your destiny and do something about clearing those inner paradigms. And if you are seeing them manifest, you could still do those things and it will help them magnify more for you. Okay, so I just wanted to address that because I did get a lot of posts about it. So now let's go back to talking about these Taurus energies and the opportunities that are present. So you might have to say yes to an offer that someone makes for you or makes to you, and it can work out in wonderful ways. If you have a patent or you want to get your business online more, or anything like that, you want to get into social media, this is a fantastic time, especially in the second half of the month if you're trying to do something long term. Now, another big must know is, of course, we've got birthdays that are going to be starting at the end of June for our Cancer friends. So happy birthday if you're a June born or 0 to 10 degree, friend. And birthday times are times when the sun in the sky gets back to the point that it was at in our charts and opens this beautiful portal for wishing. All right, so you can make your birthday wishes, you can say them out loud, you can feel them as if they've come true. And that's the biggest thing to know, is that when you feel things as if they've come true, your subconscious mind thinks, oh, we need more of that. And then it pulls to you the people and the circumstances that can help to make that feeling that you're having be real and be consistent. Okay, so happy birthday to you all. What's also important to note is that in the weeks before your birthday, so this is happening for you early degrees, this is happening in the earlier part of June. For you middle and later degree people, so basically the July born people, you'll start noticing this like mid-June or towards the end of June or beginning of July for the later placements. And what that is the sun acting as a spotlight in your 12th house. You're also going to have other placements go there. Mercury is going to be there. So your 12th house is your deep unconscious mind. It's the place where you've got riches that are waiting to be found, and you have muck that's waiting to be cleared through. It's very similar to an attic or a basement, a place, of darkness that has treasures in it that you have to brave your fears to find. It's beautiful and purposeful that the universe sets up having our 12th house be lit up by this spotlight of the sun in the weeks before our birthday. Now, if you are not a Cancer sun person and you have another Cancer placement, this is still all true for you. Because when the sun crosses over whatever your Cancer placement is, it's a time of rebirth and a time of generation and a new cycle beginning as it relates to the placement that you have. So regardless, this is a time when you might feel anxious, old patterns might come up, people from the past who represented things or a person that you used to be, might tempt you again, or at least come for you to consider. And this is a time where you can work with those energies and see what you don't want so that you can more readily see what you do want, so that you can use your new rebirth energy to intend or wish in the things that you want more of in your life. But just know that if you feel a little weird, if you feel a little off, if you feel like you're wanting to self-medicate, sometimes people go on benders drinking before. I remember, decades ago when I was doing those types of things before birthdays, people would say, I'm starting to celebrate early. I remember that happening so much. And now I understand. It's happening because we think it's because we're anxious about getting older, and maybe part of that is true. But what's more true is that the 12th house brings the fears that we may already have out to light, and then it makes us feel anxious. So if you can use some of the tools I mentioned earlier to deal with the anxiety, or if it's excessive and you need support, then obviously, please reach out for help and do that. But if you can do that instead of self-medicating, you might find that you have exceptional breakthroughs when the sun goes and pushes over to, past your Cancer placement. Okay, so the last big must-know before we go into 4 more general transit must-knows is that in the days around June 21st, we've got a Venus trine with Pluto. And this is amazing for everyone. Venus rules love and relationships and finances and money and self-esteem and fulfillment and, just overall yumminess. And Pluto represents regeneration and transformation and having your own atomic energy source that you can use for positive things. And they're in the most favorable aspect in all of astrology. So in those days at the end of the month, there might be some big breakthroughs in those arenas. And this is true for every person in the zodiac. This is extra true for Cancers, as you have beautiful angles here. And those of you who are in the late degree spectrum, so basically those ones who I said also watch the Leo report, if you're a late degree Cancer person, actually I don't remember if I mentioned that before, but I will tell you now. If your birthday is July 15th through the rest of the sign, or you have 23 degree placements through the rest of the sign, then I also suggest that you additionally listen to or watch my Leo report, because you very late degree people will benefit from both the Cancer and the Leo report. But those same people, you all in that group, which is basically like July 13th through the rest of the sign, and the closer you are to July 18th, the more you're going to get a kiss from this particular placement. All right, so now let's look at those big 4 must-knows, and let's track a bit for June, July, and August as far as where to align your efforts to align most with the natural rhythms of the universe. Okay, so we've got 4 big must-knows from the general transit must-know perspective, which is true for all signs, but very critical to know to understand the energies of this month. The first big must-know is that our sweet versus salty ratio, as far as the aspects, are yay. Now, if you're not familiar with my little Annie terms here, sweet aspects are the ones where the planets are in harmony and tend to bring nice outcomes, and the salty ones are when the planets are kind of grouchy and they can bring nuisance events. So we've got almost double the sweet aspects compared to the salty ones. Again, this month, we've got a several month sequence where this has been happening, but June is the last month because July, it will start to favor the challenging aspects more over the sweet ones. So we want to soak this up while we can. Something else important about this, this ratio here is that even some of the few salty aspects or potentially salty aspects this month are ones that are conjunctions, which means they could go either way. A conjunction is a neutral aspect. It could be very positive or very challenging. And so even of some of these salty ones that are there, some of them could be super positive. And of the other ones that aren't conjunctions, they all have sweet aspects happening on the same day or very close to any of the remaining salty ones. So that's super positive for the general climate of this month. Of course, we know that general aspects, any particular ones of them, don't always drizzle down into our personal experience, but it's definitely an important piece to consider. The next big exciting must-know is that eclipse heat of this season is fading. April and May were our big eclipses. Definitely look at my April and May horoscope reports, either through podcast or video on YouTube, to see where these areas, what areas of life for each of your signs might be affected, and some of the other themes that could be in the backdrop. You can check that out there. But what we're excited about here is that April and May can be super anxiety ridden in the way that change is coming, but you don't really know what it is. And you feel something's opening, but you're not really sure the details. And it's just sort of a time when the air is electric. You feel like you have your finger stuck in a socket. And that is starting to fade in June. While we could have some very important eclipse related news and events come in, the biggest heat of the season will be behind us by this time, and we are celebrating that. The next big must-know is that we've got a hybrid month this month. So we've got retrograde until around June 2nd, depending on your time zone. And with every day we move towards June 19th, that post-Mercury retrograde shadow period will clear. So essentially, the first half of the month is retrograde and the second half is direct. So let's just look at my handy chart to remind you of what that means. So for the first half of June, you want to deal with what comes up, not conjure things to do because you're not really sure clarity is still coming. You want to clear out clutter in your mind, in your relationships. The things that were swept under the rug, they're going to come out, so it's time to deal with them. And time to make new space for new projects and experiences. So you want to get those piles off your desk so that new projects can come in. You want to get those creative babies out, we're maybe not out yet because we're not quite in the launch zone yet. We'll talk about that in a second. But you want to get those creative babies finished up, polished up, edited, so you can send them out into the world. We've got an amazing time for last minute magic. So May and June is superb for leaving yourself unscheduled as possible, because last minute magic will come in and you're more likely to be able to say yes to an opportunity that comes if you're not super scheduled. And the things you schedule are probably going to shift or be called into question anyway, so it just makes sense. It's amazing to do research in this time. So let's say you want to do something at the end of June or July, August, when we're in our direct period. So we've got, June 19th through August 21st is our big direct period. And then the days leading up to June 19th, we're still in the retrograde. So you might want to wrap up these loose ends, do your research about the things you're going to do in this time, make your bookings, do your stuff then. A lot of times confusion, not being able to see very far ahead is a hallmark of the retrograde. And this is because you're not supposed to be making plans. You're supposed to be dealing with the things that come up. Being in the moment and not, having to worry about too much strategizing or planning, and just being in the now is always a good idea. But it's especially well indicated in the retrograde because it helps to prevent you from doing things that are better for the direct. If you're focused on this very moment, you're less likely to be doing the things that are better off in the direct flow. And it's a good time to honor the flow and not force things, okay? Now, sometimes we have to take the bull by the horns and get them out of the china shop, right? And for this activity, I suggest June 19th through August 21st. And as you get closer to June 19th, you'll feel these days will start to get, more open. It will be a gradual process through the month of changing. And so launches, your big creative baby that you polished up over here, bringing it out here. The things that you researched here, making the decisions about here, in the direct time. So basically, for those of you listening and not watching, I've got a visual here, and you can always see the visual component on YouTube if you're watching or listening through podcasts. But, basically the things that you research in the retrograde, you can make your decisions about them in the direct. The things that you're talking about, just kind of experimenting with. This is another thing that's nice here in the retrograde, is experimenting. Things you're experimenting with can turn into agreements in the direct time. So the second half of June, all of July, and most of August is this time for the direct energy, launches, big decisions, agreements, investments, moves, brand new projects, clarity, future planning, pushing and initiating, and being a little bit more proactive in this time of direct. So June is a special month in the way that it will reflect all of these facets, and you'll see that switching over as the month goes on. Then we've got a red alert. Okay, so I'm an optimist. I'm a Sagittarius. I have a lot of Sagittarius in my chart. I see everything through the lens of how this can be good, even if it's challenging, how we can reframe something to improve our experience. And my work is very much focused that way. But if there's something you just really have to watch out for that's kind of nasty, I am going to also tell you that. And we do have one of those red alert aspects here. The aspect isn't actually until July 1st. But because it's Mars and Pluto, I see that influence be super strong 5 days before, 5 days after. It could be a little more than that, even a week. But so the whole end of June, when we've got some other really nice aspects going on, we still have this this challenging aspect to look out for. You don't want to antagonize a crazy person. You don't want to antagonize someone that's clearly out of control or having a hard time. You don't want to not be paying attention. You don't want to force things from the perspective of like an ego push. Like if you have a righteous indignation about something and you're going to go battle with somebody who could be a formidable competitor, you don't really want to bring that at this time. And some people who you think are not formidable, competitors here, they might bring some fire that you're not expecting. So just be really careful in those days around the end of June and the beginning of July, because this is going to be a very strong influence. Don't let this make you concerned, too concerned. You just have to be more aware. And it definitely can cast a little shadow on some of the sweet aspects of the month, but it's only influencing there at the end. And we do have a lot of sweetness to help balance this out. Okay, so I've given you lots to work with to help you make the most of the energies this month and to help you understand the energetic patterns at work and play. And if you'd like more resources, I've got all of these here. You can additionally go to the little more button, the little arrow underneath the bottom right of the video. Click on that and all of the links that I'm giving you here will be clickable, right? So if you're looking for reading options, including a beautiful, very detailed 45-minute audio of your birth chart for $33 from my brilliant husband, you can find that at anniebclarity.com. You can go to anniehelpsyou.com, sign up for my free email newsletter. This is where you can access running a free birth chart. This is where you access my 28-day in-depth virtual coaching program called Shine for free. This is also where you'll find tons of blogs, and you get lots of other perks for being on my newsletter list. If you're looking for written horoscopes by me, always up a month early, you can go to cozybysweetstarlight.com. If you haven't seen this site, go to it. It is so beautiful. We've got, me and my team have lots of amazing astrology-inspired blogs and healthy living blogs. We've got hypnosis for all the signs. We've got healing frequencies for all the signs. I've got the written horoscopes that I write. We have yoga for all the signs. So it's just a very beautiful, comprehensive site. If you're looking for free courses on how to manifest money and wellness, you can go to lumlife.com, my school, Luminous Life Multiversity, LUMLIFE. You can also find my astrology education courses here, including my behemoth of a master course called Becoming a Professional Astrologer Mastery Course, which you can fully utilize even if you don't want to be a professional astrologer, but it certainly will get you up to the level where you could be and show you how to make your business a success. And payment plans are available there too. Now, I've also got 2 books out and more on the way. Planetology, How to Align with the Natural Rhythms of the Universe. You will find this on the bookshelves in all major booksellers, including all the Books A Million, all the Barnes & Nobles. It's right there on the shelf. Plus, you can get it on Amazon and through any independent bookseller. And you can find Radical Prayer on Amazon, and you can order it anywhere as well. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month. Bye.